For the rest of us, please make sure you've got 2 blocks today and a blanket if you'd like it. We're going to start by just being seated and finding our diaphragm, because that's going to be our big key muscle group that we're going to use for all of our standing poses, ironically enough. So I want you to just pick something to sit on, whether it's a block or a blanket, so that you feel comfortable. You might sit cross-legged, you might sit in hero's pose, you sit however feels good to you. And the first thing I want you to do when you sit down is you might need to remove any flesh from underneath your sit bones. I want you to really have a good firm base. You might need to roll the shoulders a bit. And you're going to take a moment to just fidget around before you allow the body to come to stillness and the eyes to come to close or rest on a spot on the floor. And for today, we're just going to focus on really allowing ourselves to get grounded. Good morning, Julie. And so what I want you to first become aware of in this moment is notice what thoughts you might be noticing. You're just noticing your thoughts, anything that was happening before you got here, anything that's present now. And then I want you to notice what you're feeling in the body. And as you scan your body, there's no need to label it. I want you to just allow your awareness to drift to sensation. So you might notice what's going on in between the shoulders, what's going on around the neck, noticing what's happening in terms of the weight of the arms, the weight of the pelvis. You're just observing how the knees are feeling, the feet, the floor. And then let's bring our awareness up towards our chest space. And I want you to just sense the movement of the lungs. So the lungs can be experienced almost like these 2 balloon sacs, one on the right side and one on the left side. And I want you to just notice what happens as you breathe in and breathe out. And we'll just take about 4 or 5 more breaths here. And I want you to start to sense that when the lungs fill with breath, you might feel your diaphragm press down towards your pelvis, and you might start to feel the abdomen distend, so it'll float away from you. And then as you exhale, you might feel the abdomen soften back towards the spine and the diaphragm lift towards the head. And in all of our shapes that we're going to take today, this is going to be your main point of concentration, just noticing what's happening in the diaphragm. So really feeling it descend as you breathe down, so it'll drop towards the pelvis, and then noticing it float back up like a jellyfish as you breathe out. Okay, we'll start to lower your chin down towards your chest and allow the eyes to softly flutter open. And then bring your head back to vertical. And we'll start to make our way to stand. So I encourage you to stand at the middle of your mat, facing the long edge. So Julie, this one's for you. We're doing lots of standing balancing poses today. And so you're just going to face the long edge of your mat. And before we get too established there, please make sure you place one of your blocks to the upper corner of your mat and then the lower corner of your mat, so the top and the back of your space, so that you've got them if you need them. Great. And we'll just start by standing with our feet hip distance apart. And I want you to close your eyes once again here. And the task is to move just a little bit right to left until you can feel what it feels like to have the feet really balanced in the midline. So you're just swinging the weight to the right and then swinging the weight to the left. And then you'll come to stillness. And then you'll start to sway forward and back. So more of the weight will come onto the balls of the feet, and more of the weight will go back towards the heels of the feet. And you'll just take a few of these. And then you'll find center. And some of you might need to scrunch your toes a little bit if your ankles are feeling tight. But you've just got a few more minutes to figure out what it feels like to actually stand in your feet. And then from here, let's bring one hand to our heart space and one hand to our abdomen, and notice what it feels like now to breathe into the belly, to breathe into the diaphragm. So you might notice it might feel a little bit different here. And we're going to take our time to really check in all through this class, noticing what we're doing, how we're breathing. I've been very attentive this week to how often I've been rushing through every facet of my life as I've been going through practice tests. And well, it's just not very helpful. And I think we do this in many other instances and areas of our lives as well. And so we're going to see what happens if we just allow ourselves to be in this moment, imagining that nothing else exists but this moment. All right, let's go ahead and bring our hands to our hips. I want you to bend both of your knees and then step your feet wide, about one leg length apart. So now both feet are parallel to the short edges of the mat. Let's press down through both feet a lot, and then you're going to hug up through the legs. Breathe into your abdomen, and I want you to lightly pull the pelvic floor up as you breathe out. Now, as you're here, notice if you can draw the rhomboids together on the back. So it's like the shoulder blades are hugging together just slightly. Draw the erectors down the spine, so it's almost like you're drawing the crown of the head closer to the tail, and then soften around the shoulders. Turn your right heel out, so your right toes will spin in. So right heel turns out, right toes turn in, yep. And then you're going to turn your left toes out. So now your left toes are pointing towards the back of your mat. Good morning, Patrick. And I want you to keep both of your hands on your hips, and you're going to push down through both of your legs. Turn your left palm to face forward like, I don't know, you're an Egyptian or something. And then we're going to do a little teapot. So tip your pelvis to the right, slide your left hand down the inside edge of your left thigh, and you're not going to go very far. I want you to see if you can keep that left side body long, like a long lever. And then you're going to press the back of your left hand into your left shin. Start to draw your low belly towards the right and up, and see if you can stack that right shoulder on top of the left. Nice job. From here, you might keep the right hand as it is, or reach your right arm up towards the sky. You've got 3 breath cycles here. So this is our first pose. This is a lot that's happening on our side body. So see if you can breathe. Continue to breathe into the abdomen and push down through the legs and hug them in. On your next in breath, turn your gaze to the floor. Bend your front knee and come back up to vertical. Awesome sauce. Bring both hands to your hips. Turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat, and just take a moment to notice what you notice. How's the breath? How are the feet? With both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat, we'll try this on the other side. So this time you'll spin your left heel out, your left toes in. Your right toes will spin to the top of your mat. And then you'll see if you can square your pelvis towards the long edge of your mat. Hug the backs of the shoulder blades together, and then turn your right palm to face front and away from you on the inside edge of your right thigh. See if you can keep all 5 of those fingers long and strong. Now start to tip your pelvis towards the left like a happy little teapot. Keep your right side body long and just lean as far as you can to the right, keeping that right side body long and straight. Great. Once you've got to your depth, press into both feet again, hug them towards the midline. And then I want you to press the back of the right hand into your right shin bone thing and see if you can stack the left shoulder on top. You might stay here. You might reach that left arm up towards the sky. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. Yep. And let your head be wherever it is. So some of you will look up, some of you will look straight forward, some of you will look down. You're letting the neck be wherever it's going to be supported. At the end of your next exhalation, turn your gaze to the floor, bend your front knee, come back up to vertical. Bring both hands back to both hips, straighten that front leg, and turn both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat. Now, this is going to be one of these themes I'm going to keep harping on. So I want you to breathe into the abdomen. And as you exhale, the pelvic floor lightly tones. So we don't have to think about clenching, and we're not trying to crack a nut or anything. It's just like very soft, gentle lift, like you're picking up a piece of tissue. All right, let's add on. Turn your right heel out, your right toes in. Turn your left toes to face the top of your space. Keep your hands on your hips. And then let's go ahead and bend that front knee. So that now should be your left knee. Awesome sauce. So your pelvis is still towards the long edge of your mat. Yep. And you're seeing if you can maybe widen your legs just a little bit for some of us. So maybe you inch that back leg back just a little bit. So you're in Virabhadrasana 2. Awesome. Now pause here. I want you to turn your right palm to face forward. So this is really awkward, not gonna lie. And so you're gonna then lift your right palm so it's parallel to the floor. Your palm will face up. This is a very dancerly type of shape. And then I want you to turn back and look at your right hand. So this is your back hand. The palm is facing up. I want you to push down through both of your legs, hug them in, and then see if you can turn your gaze back to center so it's in line with your heart. Open your left arm so it's parallel to the floor. Turn both palms up. Notice what's happening in your shoulder blades. Now I want you to see if you can then keep the shoulders this open, this lifted, but lightly just flip your palms to face the floor. Now take your gaze over your left hand and then breathe into the abdomen. Notice that the pelvic floor can lift like you're pulling up a piece of tissue as you exhale. Awesome sauce. Gently exhale, bring both hands to your hips, straighten the front leg, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat. Awesome sauce. And you'll just pause here. Notice how you can press into the pinky toes and lift up through those inner arches. Other side. So now you're going to spin your left heel out, your left toes in. Your right toes will point towards the back of your space. And you want to see if you can keep your pelvis parallel-ish towards the long edge of your mat. And then start to bend into that right knee. Awesome sauce. Notice if you need to wiggle walk the back foot back just a little bit so you've got your depth in Warrior 2. Great. Turn your left palm to face forward. It's just alongside your hip. And then you'll lift it back parallel to the floor. And then with the left palm there, I want you to see if you can turn back. And so the reason we're looking back towards that hand is a lot of times in Warrior 2, we're all just leaning forward to the future, but see if you can reach back evenly through that left hand. And then you'll just bring your gaze back over the center of your spine. So head is now in line with heart. Your right hand will face forward and it will float up. So now both of your arms are equally reaching out to the past and to the future so that you're rooted in the present. And then maybe you'll lightly flip the palms to face the floor and take your gaze over the center of your front hand. So that's your right hand. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. And again, the big thing is, are you breathing into your abdomen? Can you feel the diaphragm descending? Can you feel the pelvic floor ascending as it lifts? Nice job. On the end of your next exhalation, hands come back to your hips. Straighten your front leg. Turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat. Take a moment to pause. Notice what you notice. Can you still breathe into the pelvis? Can the heart still lift just a smidge? Awesome. Let's add on. Okay, so turn your right heel out, your right toes in. Right heel out, right toes in. Yep. Left toes out, facing the long edge of your mat. Now for this one, depending upon how much mobility you have in your legs, you might want to go a little bit further. But we're going to keep our hands on our hips for a moment, and I want you to bend that front knee. So now you're going to bend your left leg. Continue to press down into the knife edge of your right foot, and you're hugging those points together so the tissue is lightly pulling up. Our hands are going to stay on our hips for a moment. The left palm will come to the inside edge of your left thigh, and we're going to keep that teapot thing. So I'm going to see if I can elongate through my left side body as I start to lean to the left. My left arm will slide down to the inside edge of my left thigh. I might just bend the elbow and take a squat with that bent elbow so I've got support. And then you're going to slide your right arm up your torso, touching your torso past your ear until it slides over your face. I know that's awkward. Now you're going to pause and you're going to breathe. You're going to push down into both feet. Hug that outer left hip back. Lightly push the left elbow into the inner left thigh to roll your left ribs under, your right ribs on top. And then everybody, can you breathe in your abdomen? Can you notice what it feels like to have the diaphragm try to descend towards the pelvis or descend towards the pelvis? Nice job. Next in breath, sweep your right arm back, come back to Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Awesome sauce. Hands come to your hips, straighten the front leg long, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat and pause. Notice what you notice. Nice work. Let's go ahead and try the other side. So turn your left heel out, your left toes in, your right toes to face the short edge of your mat. Now keep your hands on your pelvis for a moment. Keep squaring your pelvis towards the long edge of your mat. Probably won't go, but that's okay. And then you're going to bend that front knee. So now that's your right knee. Now take a moment again to pause. You're pushing down through both feet. It's almost like you're a Pano Ono or whatever his name was, the speed skater. You're just sliding. And so you're pushing out through the left foot. You're pushing out through the right foot. You're hugging those feet in. Now take your right palm to the inside edge of your right thigh. Your palm is going to face away from you. And then we're going to find our little teapot thing. So our whole right torso is going to lean to the right. Our right arm is going to slide through the inside edge of our right thigh. We might bend the right elbow and have it just rest on the top center of our right thigh. And then we're going to slide our left arm alongside our left torso, along our left ear until it is extended over our head. Nice job. From there, I want you to push down into your feet like crazy. Hug that outer right hip back. See if you can push on that right forearm just a little bit so the right ribs can come under, the left ribs can come on top. And then notice if you can breathe in the abdomen. Nice work, guys. On your next in breath, you'll sweep your left arm back. You'll come back to Virabhadrasana 2. Nice work. Both hands come to your hips. Straighten your front leg long. Turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat. And you'll just take a moment to pause, and you'll take a moment to breathe, and you'll notice what you notice. Okay, let's go ahead and add on. So hands stay at hips. Let's turn our right heel out, our right toes in. Turn your left toes out. Now this time you're going to see if you can square your pelvis to the short edge of your mat. So you're probably going to need to wiggle walk that left foot a little bit more to the left. Yep, and you might need to swim that right heel back a little bit more so it feels like you can square your pelvis to the short edge of your mat. Nice work. Now here, this is weird. Since you have your hands on your hips, I want you to slide your buttocks flesh down towards the floor. Like literally, you're just going to slide your butt down. Okay, push down into both feet, hug both feet in. So now your inner thighs are active and engaged. Now, see if you can draw your rhomboids together on your back. So it's like the shoulder blades are sliding together horizontally, and then the erectors are sliding down. So you're feeling that slight contraction between your hips and your skull. And then I want you to soften around your shoulder blades. So now it feels like the heart is supported without being thrusted forward. Go ahead and keep that. Start to bend your front knee. Now, as you bend that front knee, you'll notice with your pelvis square towards the short edge of your mat, you're now in this warrior one shape. And you'll see if you can draw that outer left hip back just a little bit more. From here, let's slide our right arm up alongside our torso until it is up towards the sky. Continue to bend into that front knee and square your hips towards the short edge of your mat. Nice job. The end of your next exhalation, draw your right hand back to your hip. Go ahead and straighten your left leg and turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat. And you'll just take a moment to pause. Now, as we go from warrior one to center, I want you to see how mindful you can be about not letting it be super jarred. We're working on really grounding ourselves, and so we want to make sure that we're not doing any unnecessary movement. All right, let's try the other side. So let's go ahead and spin our left heel out, our left toes in. Our right toes will point towards the back of our space, and then you'll start to square your pelvis and turn to face the back of your space. And you might need to wiggle walk that right foot a little bit out towards the right. You might need to swim that left heel out a little bit until you can square your pelvis and your shoulders towards the short edge of your mat. Awesome. And then from here, your hands are on your hips, buttocks, flesh. I want you to slide your buttocks flush down. I want you to push down into both feet and then see if you can hug those legs together. From here, draw the backs of the shoulder blades towards each other, so deep, closest to the spine or your rhomboids. And then you'll see if you can draw the occipital bones down to your pelvis. Those are your erectors, and then soften around your shoulders. From here, start to bend the front knee generously. And as you bend that right knee, can you draw the outer right hip back just a little? Continue to slide your buttocks flush down towards the floor. You can do that without the hands or with the hands, whatever works for you. And then we're going to start to slide that left arm alongside or torso up our body and up and overhead. And it's weird that I'm making you touch yourselves like this, but it really does work, especially once you touch the other side of the body. It's called cross pattern lateralization. It helps the brain a little bit. So what we're going to do here is I want you to still slide that buttocks flush down. I want you to breathe into your abdomen, breathe into the abdomen, breathe into your abdomen, and see if you can lift that heart without thrusting it forward by just drawing the rhomboids on the back. Nice job. Next exhale, you'll bring that left hand back to your hip. Go ahead and straighten that front leg. Turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat. And just take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. And you're just going to see how you're doing here. Awesome sauce. Okay, let's go ahead and add on. So let's turn our right heel out, our right toes in. Somebody just disappeared. I don't know where they went. And your left toes to face the top of your space. Awesome sauce. Okay, so I want you to push down into your feet again. Keep your pelvis parallel to the long edge of your mat. Pelvis parallel to the long edge of your mat, yep. And you're gonna hug all that in. Now turn your left palm to face forward. And as we're here, I want you to notice how you can draw that left shoulder blade back and it just keeps your left chest open. And once again, we're gonna take that weird version of triangle. So we're gonna slide as far down to that inside edge of our left thigh as we can. And you might notice that you maybe got a little further this time. If so, great. If not, great. Does not really matter. Cool. Let's bend our top elbow. So that's your right elbow, and hold on to your right hip. Now turn your gaze to the floor. Bend your left knee. You're going to step forward and reach for the floor with that left hand and lift your back leg parallel to the floor for half moon. This is a great opportunity for that block. Awesome sauce. Now, once you start to lift that back leg, keep your hand on your hip for the moment. Bend the supporting leg as much as you need to. Lift that inner right thigh a crap ton and flex through that right foot like you're standing on the floor. So we started by standing on the floor. And so you're just noticing what this feels like. Let's see if we can lift that back leg a little higher so it's parallel. Here we go. As you're ready, you might float the top arm up. You might stay right here. But we're noticing what we notice. How is the breath? Can you still breathe into the abdomen? Awesome sauce. As you're ready, take your gaze to the floor, bend your left knee, confidently step your right foot back, slide your left hand back, and come back to warrior two. Awesome sauce. Bring your hands to your hips, straighten your front leg, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat. Pause and breathe. Yeah, so we started off pretty intense pretty quickly. This is awesome. All right, we're going to try it on the other side. So your left heel is going to spin out, your left toes are going to spin in, your right toes are going to point to the back of your space. Nice job. Okay, and we're going to keep our hands on our hips. Our pelvis is parallel-ish to the short edge of our mat. And again, you're pushing down through the feet and hugging together and pulling up. Now the right palm will face forward. And I want you to just do as we did before. So the right side body is going to stay super long as we slide the back of our right hand down towards the floor. Yep, and you're going to just keep pressing into that back leg a lot and see if you can rotate the right ribs under, left ribs on top. Awesome sauce. Now we're going to take our gaze to the floor. You're going to bend your front knee. You're going to take your right hand forward. You're going to lift your left leg parallel-ish to the floor. And we want to make sure that once that back leg comes up, that back leg is super active. So flex through that foot. There you go, Sandy. Hand comes down to the floor if you'd like. Left hand stays on the hip. And then you might be able to draw the shoulders forward, open the heart up. and lift your left arm up. And wobbling is okay. Nice job. As you're ready to come out of this, left hand comes back to left hip, turn the gaze to the floor, bend your right knee, step confidently back to warrior two. Nice work. Hands come back to hips, straighten the front leg long, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of the mat. Can you pause and be still? Notice what you notice. Pause and be still. Notice what you notice. Great. All right. We're going to add on. Okay. Let's turn feet still hip distance apart. Let's turn our right heel out, our right toes in, left toes to face the short edge of your mat. So hands still on our pelvis. And this time we're going to see if we can bring our pelvis all the way to face the back of our space, so that short edge of our mat. So now you're turning essentially a 90-degree angle from where you just were. And then you'll need to wiggle walk your left foot to the left. And you might need to swim your right heel back towards the right in order to square your pelvis. There we go. Okay. Now, once we're here, I want you to push down into both feet a lot, hug in, and then that buttocks flesh is still sliding down. The rhomboids are coming together on the back. The erector muscles are coming down, the trapezius are softening, and you're breathing into your abdomen. Okay, now for this one, you're going to go ahead and bend that front knee. So you're going to bend your left knee coming back to Virabhadrasana 1. Your buttocks flesh is still sliding back towards your back leg now. Lift your back heel up. So you're now on the ball of your right foot. Start to square your hips a little bit more. Shift your weight forward, and you're going to come into warrior three. So now all the weight is on your left leg. Your heart reaches forward. Hands are at your hips as long as you'd like them to be. Now make sure your right toes are pointing straight down, right leg parallel to the floor. You can keep your hands here or float them wherever you would like, but you're seeing if you can keep the back of the heart lifted, the sternum reaching forward, and you're breathing into your abdomen for dear life. Awesome sauce. Gently bend the front knee, step confidently back. Go ahead and straighten your front leg long. Turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat and pause. How did that go? You're just noticing what you notice in this point. Warrior three, half moon, all these balancing poses that we're doing, they can be challenging because they can cause us to think, oh my God, what the heck just happened? I can't do this. And all we're trying to allow ourselves to remember is that the only thing that exists is what's happening in this moment. So our thoughts, our breath, the physical sensations that we're aware of. So before we go to the other side, I want you to take a moment here to really feel your feet. I want you to feel what it feels like to hug those shoulder blades onto your back body, to draw the erectors down the spine, and to lift the heart, not by thrusting your chest forward like, oh, I'm a little mermaid or something, but you're having the support to keep the heart open. That's a good metaphor for life. Okay, and we'll go to the other side. So this time you're going to spin your left heel out, your left toes in, your right toes will spin towards the back of your space, and then you'll continue to turn your shoulders and your hips until you're facing towards the back of your space. You might need to walk your right foot to the right as you spin your left heel out just a bit. Awesome sauce. And then you're going to slide the tailbone down. You're going to hug those shoulder blades onto the back lightly. And then let's start to bend that front knee. Now, as we're in this variation of warrior one, I want you to see how you can start to draw the outer right hip back here, how you can start to hug the shoulder blades down and together here, and how that can create the space for the heart to lift. Start to lift your back heel, so that's your left heel. And then you can pivot even more on the ball of that foot so your pelvis is a little bit more square. Shift your weight forward, transfer the weight onto your right leg. And then as you come into warrior three, I want you to flex through that back leg a lot, pushing out through the foot a lot. And then here's where that heart space comes in again. You draw the shoulder blades onto the back. The heart leads forward and the arms take whichever variation you want them to take. Keep your pelvis square to the floor. Nice, guys. As you're ready, you'll bend the front knee, confidently step back into space. Nice job. Hands to hips, straighten front leg long. Turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. And you're just noticing what you notice. How did that go? Awesome sauce. All right, we're going to add on. Let's make sure our feet are a little bit more narrow than ordinarily. So it depends on how much mobility you have in your hamstrings. If your hamstrings feel not so open, you'll probably walk them in just a smidge closer. Otherwise, you can keep them standard. And we're going to try out, well, we're going to move on. You're going to turn your right toes in, your right heel out. You're going to turn your left toes out. So now our toes are pointing towards the back edge of our space. And then you're going to wiggle walk your left foot to the left as you start to square your pelvis even more towards the back of your space. That might mean you need to swim your right heel out. So hands on your hips once again. I want you to slide the buttocks flesh down, push down into both feet, suck that in. And then again, I want you to hug your elbows towards each other, shoulder blades on back, erectors down, trapezius soften. And we're going to allow our heart to lead us. So we're going to hinge halfway. You might need to slightly bend your front knee. Now, once you come halfway, lower your right hand to the inside edge of your left foot. Right hand to the inside edge of your left foot. For many of us, a block would be really helpful for that. Awesome sauce. Okay, and then we're going to pause here. Push down into your supporting hand. So that's your right hand to see if you can lift your right armpit up and keep your spine parallel-ish to the floor. Everyone bring your left hand to sit on your left butt cheek sacrum area, like you got a little teacup there. Now I want you to pull your hand back and away from your head, reach your head forward and see if you can keep your spine parallel to the floor. So Patrick, switch hands for me. Bring your right hand to the floor and your left hand to your butt. Yep. And then from here, some of you will stay right here. Some of you will continue to lengthen your tail back, your crown forward, and then you'll push down into that right hand even more. Start to turn your right ear to the floor like you can hear someone calling your name. And then maybe your gaze will start to turn towards that inner left thigh and the left side of the room. Some of you will reach that left arm up towards the sky. Now, if you start to do that with the left hand reaching up, so it's the opposite hand, and you're twisting, Barbara, can you lower the right hand? Oh, no, you're good. And then I want you to see if you can draw the shoulder blades together on the back. The rhomboids are going down towards your, or the erectors are going down to your tailbone. And then the heart is lifting to the left and up. And notice how that allows the chest to twist just a bit more. Nice job. Bring your gaze back to the floor. Bring your left hand to your left hip. Bend your front knee. Come back up for a weirdish warrior one. Go ahead and straighten that front leg long. If you have a block, you might need to move it. And then you'll turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your space and pause. Short edge of your space and pause. Okay, so we're gradually working up to stuff. All right, let's try the other side. So your left heel is going to spin out. Your left toes are going to spin in. Your right toes are going to spin out, so they now face the back edge of your space. With your hands still on your hips, you're going to imagine that these are headlights and turn your headlights to face the same direction as the short edge of your mat. You might need to spin your back heel out a little bit as you wiggle walk your right heel towards the right. And then buttocks flesh slides down, energy goes into the legs, hug that energy in. Draw the shoulder blades onto the back, the heart lifts, and then you'll start to bend into that front knee. So we're now into that warrior one. Whoops, never mind, don't do that. Straighten your front leg long. You're gonna start to hinge at your hips. Sorry guys, I'm already getting us going to the next pose. And as you're here, I want you to pause. So you're hinging at the hips, the spine is parallel-ish to the floor. You might need to slightly bend that knee if your hammies are not so open yet. And then let's lower that left hand to the inside edge of the right foot or onto a block or onto the floor. Keep your right hand onto your butt. Keep your spine as parallel-ish to the floor as you can. And the right hand will draw your tailbone back. Your crown will reach forward and you're going to pause there. As you're ready, The left ear turns to the floor as though someone's calling your name. And I say that, but it really helps if you imagine that you hear someone calling your name. And for some reason, it's only through the left ear that you can hear it, and they're underneath you some weird way, but it really helps rotate the spine. And then you'll start to draw the belly in on the right side and maybe float your right arm up. But you're just noticing. So we're not trying to go too far into this, especially my sacrum low back people. You want to make sure that your sacrum stays neutral. So if that hand helps having it on the butt, please keep it on the butt. Awesome sauce. Turn your gaze down to the floor. Bend your front knee. Come back up for warrior two, rather warrior one. Yep. Straighten that front leg long. You might need to remove the block, but you'll turn both legs parallel to the short edge of your mat and pause. And I want you to just notice how the feet are. I want you to notice how the breath is moving in your diaphragm. Can you feel those air sacs, those balloons that are the right and the left lobes of the lungs? Can you feel them filling with air? Awesome sauce. All right, we are going to add on. This one, please listen very, very carefully as we go through this one. I encourage you to walk your feet a little bit wider than you think you need to. I know initially that's not going to feel comfortable, but it will help once we get towards the final shape. So hands on your hips, your right toes are going to spin in, your right heel is going to spin out, left toes are going to spin out, and our hands are on our hips. And now we're going to start to turn our pelvis and our shoulders towards the left. That right heel is going to spin out a little bit more. And you're going to feel like you're, I don't know, almost in splits. Your legs are going to feel really far apart. That's okay. Hands stay on your hips for a moment. I want you to slide the buttocks flesh down, push down into both feet, and hug that energy in. Then from here, start to bend into your front leg. So now we're in a really long Virabhadrasana one, warrior one. And again, you're pushing down into the back foot. The buttocks flesh is sliding down, the shoulder blades are hugging, and the heart is lifting. From here, let's bring our hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. And I want you to hinge forward until there's one long diagonal from your crown, through your shoulders, through your hips, through your back heel. Now continue to keep the belly active. As you exhale, your right elbow is going to come towards the inside edge of your left knee. And so the spine stays long, but that right elbow comes towards the inside edge of that left knee. Nice job. Now, everyone, reach your sternum towards your thumbs. Draw the left shoulder blade on top of the right, and you're taking a pose we have not taken in years. So we're only going for the inside of the knee versus trying to get to the outside. And on your next in-breath, you'll unwind the spine. You'll come back through Virabha 1. Hands come back to your hips. Straighten that front leg long. Turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat. And please pause. Be still. Notice the internal unwinding. So we just wound your body up quite a bit. Can you be still and just notice the internal things unwinding? Awesome sauce. Breathe into your belly. See if you can feel the diaphragm drop down and then float up like a happy little jellyfish as you breathe out. All right, let's try that on the other side. So open your eyes if your eyes are closed. And you want to be in a wider position to start for this. I know it feels super awkward as we're getting in, but it helps once we get to the twist. So once you're there, your left heel will spin out, your left toes will spin in, your right toes will spin out. And then you'll start to square your shoulders towards the back of your space. So the left heel will have to spin a little bit and the right foot's going to have to walk out. And then you're going to push down into the legs, scoop up through the low belly. Let's start to bend our front knee. So that makes that a little bit more manageable being in this shape. So we're now in a wide, long warrior one. So buttocks flesh slide down, shoulder blades slide together, erectors come down and soften at your trapezius. Go ahead and draw your hands now to heart center. And then as you exhale, hinge at the hips until you're in one long line from your crown, through your shoulders, through your hips, and through your back foot. Now on your next exhalation, you'll scoop the belly on the right side and start to draw your left elbow to the inside edge of your right knee. And so we're getting into it this way because if you find length through the vertebra first, there's less likely to be torque happening in the spine. So we're just seeing if we can keep the spine long. Nice job, guys. Now press the palms into each other, draw the sternum closer to your thumbs, and then see if you can draw that right shoulder blade back just a little bit. Yep, there you go. Just a little bit more. Awesome sauce. Next in-breath, turn your gaze to the floor. Go ahead and bring the spine back up to vertical. Hands come to hips, straighten front leg long, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat, and pause. Just pause. Just pause. Notice what you notice. We spend so much of our time trying to get through things, thinking that once we get somewhere, we will have achieved something. But what if the giant joke in life is that the only thing that matters is what's happening right here and right now? All right, let's add on. So if the gaze is closed, let's go ahead and open the eyes again. And this time again, same thing. Right heel spins out, right toes spin in, left toes spin out. So I'm going to harp on that for a little bit longer. Now we're going to start to turn our pelvis back towards the back of our space. So the left leg will probably need to wiggle walk to the left. The right heel will need to spin in for just a bit. Great. Awesome sauce. Now from here, I want you to keep drawing that left hip back. Draw the shoulder blades back. And I want you to hinge at the hips, but it's like your heart and your chin are leading at the same rate. So my head's not going faster than my heart's not going faster than my head. They're the same alignment. Take your right hand and lower it to the inside edge of your left foot on a block or on the floor. Listen very closely. We're going to see if we can find more length on that left side body and on that right side body. So you're going to push into the right hand to lift up through that inner right armpit. Keep your left hand on your left hip, bend your left knee. Take your right hand, block thing forward, shift your weight forward, lift your back leg parallel to the floor. Awesome sauce. Now, my people that have sacrum issues, I want you to keep your left hand on your hip. I want everybody to lift your right leg 5 inches higher than it is. Yep. Keep your left knee bent as much as you need to. Keep your right toes pointing down to the floor. Julie, flex through that back foot even more. There you go. Yep. And then from here, you can stay right here if you want. Otherwise, you can push down into that right hand, lengthen your crown back, your tail forward, and start to rotate your spine towards the left. You might even start to lift that left arm up towards the sky. But my sacrum people, that right leg is most important. So we want to keep that leg lifted so our sacrum doesn't slide. Nice work, people. As you're ready, that left hand comes back to the hip, gaze comes to the floor, bend that front knee, confidently step back to warrior one. Hooray! Love it, Jenny. Straighten the front leg long, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat, and just pause and breathe. And you're just noticing what you notice. So I don't know about you, but I felt like when I did this, it kind of got easier as I went along. Well, maybe that's a personal preference, but we're seeing. And we're going to try the other side. So the left heel spins out, left toes spin in, the right toes spin out, and we're going to start to just square our pelvis towards the back. Now I want you to pause before we get into any of the other things. You are just here in this moment. You're pushing down through both feet. You're hugging in through both legs. You're seeing if you can draw the shoulder blades onto the back, if you can lift the heart and support the heart opening with the shoulder blade engagement. From here, we'll start to hinge at the hips. So our heart and our chin and our head level towards the floor at the same rate. From here, our left hand will lower down to the inside edge of our right foot onto the block or onto a floor. Our pelvis stays pretty parallel to the floor. And then as you're ready, you will start to bend that front knee. You'll shift your left hand forward. You'll lift your left leg parallel to the floor, and you'll flex through that back foot like you were standing on it very confidently. Awesome. Great. Everyone lift that back leg about 5 inches higher than it is. Keep your toes pointing to the floor. You can stay right here, or you can start to push down into that left hand. Reach the crown forward, scoop the belly up on the right side, and maybe rotate your chest towards the right. Maybe lift your right hand up. Nice job. Revolved half moon. Jenny, lift that Left leg, yep. As you're ready, hand comes back to the hip, gaze comes to the floor, bend your front knee, step confidently back to warrior one, careful of the cat. And as you're ready, straighten that front leg, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat and pause. Allow your gaze to soften, allow it to close, and you're just gonna see how you're doing right here, right now. All right. Go ahead and take our last standing, well, that's not true, we got two more. Last few standing poses. So hands back to your hips. The right heel spins out, the right toes spin in, the left toes spin out. Now we're gonna take our pelvis back towards the back, the long edge of our mat. Now this is gonna sound super weird, but I want you to hold on to your left arm with your right hand. So it's behind you. Hold on to your left arm with your right hand. Barbara, turn to face the back of your space a little bit more so you're squaring. There we go. Awesome sauce. Okay, now I want you to notice here that you can slide your buttocks flesh down. You can still do all that activation with your legs. You can breathe into your abdomen, breathe into your abdomen, breathe into your abdomen. And then draw the shoulder blades onto the back. Now we're gonna start to hinge, coming to a 90-degree angle here. Keep drawing that outer left hip back a lot. Jason, draw the left hip back towards me just a bit more. There you go. And then once you find yourself parallel-ish to the floor, I want you to see if you can go a little bit further by drawing your sternum towards your front shin. You might need to bend that front knee. And then at the very end, you might allow your chin to come in towards your sternum a little bit more and your head to dip down towards the floor. But now we're in Parsvottanasana, intense side angle stretch. And it definitely is named appropriately. Nope, you were good, Sandy. So pelvis is squaring to the floor. Awesome sauce. Now to come out of this, gently bend the front knee. Come back up to Virabhadrasana 1, warrior 1. So you can release the arms if you'd like. And then you'll straighten that front leg long, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of the mat. Pause. Pause. Are those moments in your life where you do something really fantastic and then you rush on to the next thing before you've allowed yourself to even really feel what it feels like to have done what you did? Nice. All right, we're going to try the other side. So hands come back to hips. Turn your left heel out, your left toes in, your right toes will point towards the back of your space, and then you'll continue to turn your shoulders and pelvis until they face the back of your space. You might need to wiggle walk the right leg out, and that's totally good. And then you'll take the opposite hand. So the last time we were holding our left, so this time you're going to hold your right. If you were doing the opposite thing, you would do the opposite thing. But the rest of us, we're going to do that. And we're going to slide our buttocks flesh down. We're going to push down into our feet. We're going to hug our shoulder blades together and lift the heart from the internal space. So we can't force our hearts open, but we can create support so that they'll open. And then you'll start to hinge at the hips. And that right hip keeps drawing back. You keep pushing down into the outer left foot, and you come to about a 90-degree angle with your torso. And then it's here again that the shoulder blades slide onto the back, the erectors slide down the back, the trapezius relax, and then you'll start to draw your sternum closer towards that front shin, your belly closer to that front thigh, and then maybe soften the chin towards the chest. That looks good, Julie. And you're gonna pause and you're gonna breathe. Nice job, guys. Such strong, powerful legs. Good job, people. And then as you're ready, you'll bend the front knee. You'll come back up for Virabhadrasana 1, warrior 1. Arms will release. Straighten front leg long, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat and pause. And you're just gonna pause and you're just gonna breathe and you're gonna pause and you're gonna breathe. Okay. Here's our last standing pose. So my people that already know that your hamstrings are pretty open, I want you to walk your feet more narrow towards each other. People that are like, yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. My legs are always tight. You're gonna walk your feet further apart. Okay, hands are gonna stay on your butt. Your buttocks flesh slides down the backs of your legs down into your feet. You're pressing out into your pinky toes, and then you're sucking all that energy back up. From here, the shoulder blades hug together on the back. The heart lifts. And then we're going to start to hinge halfway. So we're now at that 90-degree angle again. And again, I want you to pause here. If you need to bend your knees, slightly bend your knees, but hug the shoulder blades together on the back. Hug the erectors down towards your butt. Soften around the trapezius around the neck, and then hinge the last bit of the way coming all the way towards your legs. So head will now descend towards the floor. From here, the hands can slide down the outer edges of the thighs towards the ankles. They might stay there. They might come underneath you onto blocks or floor, but we're going to pause here. I'm going to pause here. And you're just going to breathe. You're going to breathe and you're going to notice what you notice. And our feet are still parallel-ish to the short edge of our mat. If anything, the heels spin out just a little bit and the toes spin in. There you go. And some of you will stay right here, happy as a clam. Some of you will start to bend just your right knee, shifting your weight over towards the right side of your body. Hands go with you as need be. And then some of you will come back through center and then try the other side. But you've got 4 to 5 more breath cycles here. So if moving a little bit side to side feels pretty good and interesting as you explore what the heck is happening on your adductors, those are the inner muscles of your thighs, have at it. Some of you might feel stuff happening in your outer edges of your glutes, piriformis area. That might be a fun sensation too. So you're just noticing what's happening as you're just exploring. And the invitation that I have for you is, can you really explore? There's no agenda. I don't care what you're doing. I don't think the universe cares what you're doing or not doing either. But are you curious about the sensations? Are you noticing your own internal experience as you're having it? And then once you've done enough of your exploration, please come back to center, Prasarita Padottanasana, variation A. And then I want you to walk your hands forward as though you're going to go to a downward facing dog, but all the weight stays in your legs. All the weight stays in your legs. All the weight stays in your legs. So downward facing dog, but all the weight stays in your legs. So now you're seeing if you can get your spine as long as it can be. Your ears are in line with your armpits. Your bum is shooting back. Your crown is shooting to the space between your hands. Nice job. And you're just feeling that elongation through the vertebra of the spine. As you're ready, draw more weight onto your hands. Draw weight into your hands. Start to bend your knees and walk your knees together. Walk your knees together. There we go. Lower your knees to the mat. Sit down in child's pose or virasana, hero's pose, your choice. And you're going to just face wherever you want to. So some of you will still face the long edge of your mat. Some of you will decide that that's not appropriate for you and you'll choose to change. But you're going to either sit in child's pose or virasana. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe. You're going to pause and you're going to breathe. Now, I want everyone, wherever you are, to check in again with that diaphragm. So those of you that are in child's pose, you'll be able to feel the ribs move by pushing the ribs into the inner thighs, and the diaphragm will then descend towards your pelvis. Those of you that are seated upright, you can still feel the ribs move wide and the diaphragm will start to drop down. And so you're just noticing how the diaphragm is moving. How does it feel now in this shape? Awesome sauce. You got one more breath cycle here. And then at the end of your next exhalation, those of you that are in balasana, child's pose, I want you to come up to sit. And then we're all going to sit for virasana unless that's not working for your knees. And if so, by all means, just put your butt on the floor. If you are sitting in virasana, this will be a great time to put a block between your butt or between the heels and the butt. So you're sitting on that. Okay, awesome sauce. And then we're going to take our left foot and bring our left foot in front of us. So now we're in this Ardha Virasana shape. So my right knee is still bent underneath me. My left foot is in front of me. And we're going to see how this goes. So we're going to pull our left knee towards our chest until our chest comes forward towards our left knee. And then I want you to see if you can soften that left shoulder down. Some of you will stay right here and be like, yep, this is where I'm at. Some of you will start to twist towards the left. So my right hand will come to the outside edge of my left knee. My left hand can come to my left low belly and just help as a guide. I'm not forcing anything. It's just there of, oh yeah, I can pull this back. And it's just a gentle rotation through the spine. Does not matter how far you go. Doesn't matter how far you twist. Just that you're twisting from the inside. And you're breathing and you're seeing how that feels. Awesome sauce. Your next in-breath, gently come back and you'll unwind. Now we've got two options here. Some of you will stay exactly as you are and be like, yep, Jessica, that's what we're doing. Some of you will lift that left leg up. So now my left foot is kind of hovering off the floor. Some of you will stay right here and you'll just lift your chest toward your left thigh. Some of you will release your hands to underneath your left foot and you'll start to straighten your left leg. Awesome. And again, wherever you are, you're drawing shoulder blades onto the back. So it's the heart that is being supported by the shoulders to lift. You're pushing up through that big toe mound of your left foot. And that whole action that we were doing before, both of those things are sucking in together. You're just like sucking them in together to lift up. Awesome sauce. Very gently, you'll release that. Left foot comes back to the floor. Left leg comes back for Virasana. And then we'll try all that on the other side before we're done with this. Okay, so first things first, hands come to the front of your right shin. Pull your chest forward, sit super tall. Love the modifications, guys, awesome. And then from here, the right hand can come to the right low belly, left hand comes to the outside edge of the right knee, and you can start to rotate towards the right. And again, you're not trying to force anything. It just goes as far as the body wants to go. And for some reason, having the hand there just helps because it's like, oh yes, I breathe away from that right hand and that lets me twist more of my left side towards the right inner thigh. There you go. You've got one more breath cycle here. Awesome sauce. Next in breath, you'll gently unwind and you'll come back to center. Some of you can stay right here. This is a great option. You just sit tall through your spine. And you're like, yep, this is where I'm at. Some of you will just hug that knee to your chest and let the right leg sort of dangle off the floor. Some of you can release the hands to grab the foot. And if you're grabbing the foot, I do encourage you to grab the heel like you're doing a stirrup before you try to kick the foot forward. And if you do try to kick the foot forward for heron's pose, you want to see if you can draw that right heel back as you reach your sternum forward. Nice job, people. Awesome. Very gently, let's release that. Robin, you're very flexible. And then let's go ahead and draw both feet forward. Bring your butt to the floor and take Baddha Konasana. So soles of the feet together, both knees open. Soles of the feet together, both knees open. So Baddha Konasana. Okay, and this is our last little thing that we're here. And I want you to still keep that action of shoulder blades together, erectors coming down, trapezius softening, and you're just going to hinge forward at the hips as far as your body wants to go right now. And we're ideally trying to see if we can keep the front of our body and the back of the body equally long. We're trying to see if we can soften the chin towards the sternum so it's not jutting up, it's not curling in too much, it's just lengthened. Awesome sauce. And then as you're ready, you'll gently come out of this. The hands will come to the outer edges of your thighs, close your knees together like a book. And then slowly you'll make your way to your floor, make your way to your back. You can get there however you wish to, but I do encourage you to come onto your back. This will be a great time before you lay down to cover your body if you're cold. Nice, Erica. Awesome. And then once you get down to your back, we're going to spend a few moments in constructive rest first. So I want you to bend both of your knees, plant the feet on the floor, walk your feet outside of your hips, let your knees knock in towards each other. And then you can keep the arms however you want, or you can wrap them around your shoulders. I kind of like it wrapped around my shoulders, like I'm giving myself a hug. And some of you, the fingertips will curl underneath the shoulder blades. Some of you, the fingertips will just rest on the floor next to you, but the elbows aren't being held. They're just resting on your chest. And I want you to take about 5 breaths here. So now we're coming back to the diaphragm again. Now with the floor here, you might feel that it moves a little differently. So I want you to pay attention to just what it feels like to really breathe in fully, to fill the entire length of your lobes of your lungs, like you're inflating a balloon. And then you'll notice that as you really fill the lungs with breath, you might feel the diaphragm move in a different way here. And the diaphragm will still distend, or rather descend down towards the pelvis. The belly will still distend away from you. And it'll come back up. And you've got 2 more breath cycles here before I'll ask you to switch whichever arm is on top. So you'll just notice whichever arm is on top for you. And then as you're ready, you'll switch whichever arm is on top if the arms are crossed. Now, as we're in this shape, I do encourage you to check in. How does the body feel? How do you feel? I've been reading a lot of Byron Katie lately, and she's, I don't know if you know her, but she's known for this thing called The Work, which she has these 4 questions that are said to change your level of anxiety, anger, frustration, you name it, to being one of complete acceptance and joy and ease. And in any case, her basic underlying theme seems to be this idea that all that really matters is what's happening in this moment. So my invitation for you is, in this moment, what feels like it might be a great thing to help you get to Shavasana. So some of you might want to do happy baby. Some of you might want some twists. Some of you might be like, yep, Jessica, I'm going to stay right here. But you're going to allow yourself to figure out what will help you get to Shavasana. And then you'll allow yourself to slowly explore those things. And slowly is the key word of the day. I want you to take your time. I want you to take the time being with you and exploring the things that feel good to you. I don't know about you, but there's so many things that I feel like I don't give enough attention to, enough time to. And it's not necessarily things that I dislike doing. Yeah, there's some things like, I don't know, nobody likes paying taxes, or maybe you rush through that, but there are other things that you might rush through that you actually do enjoy doing. Okay, and then if you've done something asymmetrical, I do encourage you to visit the opposite side. And then when you feel complete in your little exploration, please make your way to a supported Shavasana, whatever that means to you. So it might mean that you wrap the body up. It might mean that you use a blanket or some blocks. Awesome sauce. Okay. And those of you that are still winding down, take your time. Those of us that are established in our Shavasana, I want you to notice first if you can push down into your head and lift your shoulder blades up and away from the floor, and then slide them together and down towards your butt. And then you might lift your hips and bump your butt down towards your heels just a bit. And then I want you to notice if you can really just allow the arms to rest, whether they're on the body or whether they're off the body. Do you need to walk the elbows to such a spot where there's no effort required to maintain the arms? Okay. And then from here, we're going to start by releasing the skull a little bit more into the floor. So you just bring your awareness to the back of the head, the back of the shoulders, the elbows, the hands. All these things become heavier. Let the back of the shoulders become heavier. The pelvis, the buttocks, all of that becomes heavier. The thighs, the calves, the heels, all of this just melts with gravity. And as these points really start to settle, I want you to notice where you can then begin to soften a little bit more. So maybe you soften the tissue around the skull, around the face. You soften the tissue around the throat, the collarbones, the shoulder blades. You continue to soften down through the palms and the fingertips. Coming back to the shoulders, you soften there again, soften around the heart, soften around the diaphragm, the abdomen, the pelvis. Allow tension to leave through the inner thighs, the outer thighs, around the knees, the shins, the ankles, soles of the feet and the toes. Now, as the bones become heavier and as the muscles continue to melt around the bones, bring your awareness to your abdomen and bring your awareness to your chest. And this one's going to be a choose your own adventure type of thing. If you're feeling like a lot of anxiety, you're going to breathe just into your abdomen. If you're feeling a little bit of lethargy, you're going to breathe into the collarbones, into the upper ribs. And so this is a choose your own adventure. But you're going to let the breath be as full, as stable as it can be. So even if you start breathing in the collarbones, the breath will still reach the abdomen. And even if you start breathing in the abdomen, the breath will still reach the collarbones. You're just allowing yourself to direct your energy based upon what it is you feel like you need. And we'll be here for a few more minutes, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Gently return your awareness. And you'll just notice what you notice. How are you feeling now? If there's any part of you that longs to linger in this shape for a few more moments, for a few more breath cycles, by all means, please hang out here until you're ready to move on with your day. When you are, I do encourage you to reawaken the body very consciously and deliberately, slowly moving whatever parts of the body wish to be moved. Those that are in stillness, please stay as long as you'd like. Those that are in movement, gently make your way to your right side and just stay there for a few breath cycles. Those on your side, you'll start to roll your chest more towards the floor, press into the top hand, and bring your spine up to a vertical position. When you are vertical, I encourage you to take the opportunity to elevate your butt on a block or a blanket. And then just as we began, you might want to fidget a bit, removing any flesh from underneath your sit bones so that you've got a firm purchase on the support beneath you. You might need to roll the shoulders just a little bit until it feels like the shoulders stack easily over the hips. And then notice what it feels like to stack your ears over your shoulders. Now, this is one of those points where, especially the more you can feel the sliding together of the rhomboids, which are the deepest set of muscles on the back, and then the erectors, and then the softening of the middle trapezius, which slightly feels like they're kind of coming together too. The heart has the opportunity to really rest in its place. We're not closed down, we're not overly exposed, we're really aligned. And then notice what it feels like to soften any tension in your mouth. So you relax your tongues. Notice what it feels like to soften the eyes and the sockets. And then you'll just take 3 breaths here. And I want you to see if you can fill those balloons, fill those lobes of your lungs, and really feel the diaphragm move. I think so much of life is about learning to let go so that we can learn how to trust the movement that's always happening. When we're breathing efficiently, our diaphragm is always moving. We don't need to be chest breathers. We don't need to be in fight or flight. The diaphragm will take care of it for us. And it's a constant relearning of how to let go, how to trust in the sensations and the thoughts and the feelings that come up for us. It's also learning how to trust when we need to let them go. So we'll take 3 more breath cycles here. And at the end of your 3rd exhalation, I do encourage you to bring your hands to heart center on Anjali Mudra. Once you find yourself there, you'll press the palms into each other. You'll receive the thumbs into your sternum. You'll lift your sternum towards your thumbs. And then you'll gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible exhale. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. To that light, to that love, and to that breath, we bow. Namaste.